Every athlete knows the pressure to be perfect, to win every match, to never make a mistake. It's what drives you to train harder, push further, and reach for that next level. But what if I told you that this same pressure could be the very thing that's sabotaging your career? Think about it. How many promising athletes have crumbled under the weight of their own expectations? I've seen this firsthand as a mental performance coach to athletes at every level, from the academy level right up to the professional level. Athletes who care the most often get too caught up in their own heads, and this is what leads to poor performance. Because when you care too much, you put yourself in a constant state of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. But to perform your best, you need a clear mind, and that can only come from letting go. And don't get me wrong, you don't want to stop caring completely. You need to care about your sport and care about it deeply, but just not to the levels that suffocate you and cause you to freeze in the biggest moments. So today I'll share exactly how caring less can actually boost your performance, keep you in love with the game, and ultimately lead to greater success. So let's get started. So why exactly is caring too much a problem as an athlete? Because I'm sure you've been told that you need to be obsessed. You need to go all in and completely live and breathe your sport to reach the highest level. Well, imagine for a moment that you're trying to tune a guitar. If you tighten the strings too much, they'll snap. But if they're too loose, the sound will be dull and lifeless. The key to playing the perfect tune is finding that perfect tension where the strings are just right. That's exactly how caring about your sport works. When you care too much, you're like those over-tightened strings, wound up, stressed out, and on the verge of snapping. Your focus becomes so narrow and the pressure so intense that you lose your ability to perform naturally. The joy of the game gets drowned out by anxiety, fear of failure, and the shame of not performing to your high standards. On the other hand, if you care too little, you're like those loose strings. You lack the drive and intensity to push yourself to perform your best. Without that passion, your performance becomes flat and uninspired, and you miss out on the energy that makes you want to improve. So the goal is to find that sweet spot, the perfect tension where you care just enough to stay motivated and focused, but not so much that you're constantly stressed. When you strike this balance, you'll find yourself playing at your absolute best. You're moving with ease and enjoying the game for what it is. And a perfect example of this balance is three-time NBA MVP Nikola Jokic. Many fans think he's just not that serious about basketball and has no interest in it at all. But deep down he is. He's just famously laid back. And a lot of his interviews have been taken way out of context about him apparently not liking basketball, where all he's actually said is that his family is more important to him than his sport. So he really does sit in that middle ground where of course he cares, but just not too much. And this allows him to play with complete confidence and freedom whenever he hits the court. He's not bogged down by the pressure to be perfect. By not caring too much, Jokic has found that perfect tension, allowing him to perform at an elite level while still enjoying the process. That's the kind of balance every athlete should aim for. But yes, I can see how some people would say he's actually closer to not caring enough. But I think that's circumstantial. I mean, look how much it meant to him to win a bronze medal in the Olympics with Serbia. So the point is, you want to care enough up until the point where caring anymore would actually run the risk of snapping those strings and killing off your chance of a top performance. But how do you do this? Well, it depends sport to sport and also situation to situation, because there are some tournaments or competitions that you'll naturally just care more about than others, like major cup finals or key qualification events. But there are three things that any athlete can do so they can get this balance right. And for each of these three things, what they really allow you to do is build the habit of selective caring. So what this is about is being intentional with where you direct your energy and focus. It's the practice of caring deeply about things that truly matter while learning to let go of the things that don't. In sports, this means recognizing that not every play, every practice, or every opinion is worth stressing over. Instead, you focus your care on the moments that have the most impact on your performance and your growth. And look, this is massively important as an athlete because it gets so easy to get caught up in the minutiae. Every missed shot, every critique, or every tiny detail that doesn't go your way. Because when you care about everything, you end up spreading yourself too thin, which can lead to burnout, anxiety, and of course, poor performance. But by practicing selective caring, you conserve your mental and emotional energy for the things that actually move the needle, like key competitions, important training sessions, and your long-term goals. So the first thing to embody this selective caring is to set boundaries. So what you want to do is establish boundaries for how much time and mental energy you'll spend on certain aspects of your sport. For example, after a game, you might find yourself replaying mistakes in your mind, which can lead to overthinking and self-doubt. Instead, allocate a specific time, say 20 minutes that evening for a journaling session. Use that time to reflect on what happened, identify what you can learn from it, and then move on. And once that time is up, shift your focus to preparation and improvement for your next training session. This approach ensures that you process what went wrong without actually letting it consume you. It's important to care when things don't go your way because caring is what motivates us to improve. But there's a fine line between caring just enough to learn and grow and then caring so much that you end up just bullying yourself for not being perfect. This is where boundaries come in. By setting a specific time limit for your reflection, you prevent yourself from spiraling into self-criticism and instead just create a structured space for growth. And then thing number 2 is to shift your focus from outcome-based goals to process-oriented goals. So look, as an athlete, of course you want to win or achieve a specific result. You want a competitive edge to a level that is much higher than the everyday person. But fixating solely on the outcome can lead to unnecessary stress and anxiety. Instead, process-oriented goals emphasize the steps you need to take in order to improve, like refining your technique, increasing your effort, or just generally developing your mental game. For example, instead of setting a goal like, I must win this race, you could set a process-oriented goal such as, I will maintain a steady pace and focus on my breathing throughout the race. This shifts your attention from the end result to the actual actions that you control in the moment, which actually then lead to the outcome of winning anyway. By doing this, you reduce that pressure that comes with trying to achieve perfection, and instead just concentrate on what you can do to improve one step at a time. And look, life as an athlete is exhausting. It's a long grind, day in, day out, season in, season out. So process-oriented goals also help you stay motivated over the long term. So as you set your goals, think about the processes that will lead to improvement, whether it's mastering a new technique, sticking to a training schedule, or focusing on your mental toughness. These are the goals that will keep you grounded, reduce stress, and help you become a better athlete over time. And then lastly, tip number 3 is to engage in domain detachment. This concept revolves around intentionally spending time outside of your sport and engaging in other hobbies and interests. And while it might sound counterintuitive, detaching from your primary domain can actually enhance your overall performance and also your mental well-being. Athletes often pour every ounce of their energy and focus into their sport, believing that constant immersion is the key to success. But the truth is, this single-minded approach often leads to burnout, fatigue, and even a loss of passion for the game. Domain detachment is about giving yourself permission to step away, recharge, and gain a fresh perspective. Countless elite athletes have hobbies outside of their sport that they engage in to allow themselves to decompress during a long season or after disappointing results or performances. Someone like Michael Jordan would play golf to escape the basketball court, and 5-time Olympic medalist Tom Daley has a serious knitting obsession. And Mike Tyson spent most of his free time during his boxing career raising and caring for pigeons. Yes, pigeons. These activities provide a mental break, reduce stress, and allow the brain to recover from the intense focus required in sport. It gives you that reset that you need after an intense period of caring deeply about your training or competition. So to implement domain detachment, start by identifying a few interests or hobbies that you genuinely enjoy, and actually set aside regular time in your schedule for these activities, especially after intense training sessions or competitions. Seriously, block it out in your calendar so that you actually go through with it. Otherwise, you'll get caught up in a caring cycle about your sport that just becomes impossible to break from. And the ultimate goal is just for an hour or two to fully immerse yourself in these other pursuits, allowing your mind to shift gears and unwind. Remember, the goal isn't to distract yourself from your sport, but just to create a balanced approach that sustains your long-term performance. Another thing that generally helps with getting to a point where you care enough but not too much is, of course, managing your emotions. So to find out how pro athletes do this, check out this next video here.